it takes one wave to get you as you're coming out the cabin and you're over. What was the question?
This is what I have to put up with, isn't it?
Didn't this get a bit annoying after a couple of days?
Day one was like day 30.
This is why I went for the shift system, so I didn't have to teach them when I was on the road.
It's a good point though, you don't have to make a conversation with each other, because you're working.
Yeah, I mean, if everything goes to plan, you actually hardly ever see the other guy.
Perfect.
Unfortunately, it didn't go to plan.
We
spent a lot of time.
We did have a slow crossing. I mean, this year it took it took us 72 days, but in general it was a lot slower than previously. We had about 3 weeks, 21 days in total where we couldn't row.
Why?
The weather was so bad, or the conditions were against us. You can only row in certain conditions or make sort of forward ground. And there were 6 days solid where Rich and I were lying shoulder to shoulder in a cabin, just waiting for the weather to pass, which, you run out of conversation pretty quickly, to be honest.
Relying on a few text messages from home.
I think they called it spooning.
It was
the great guess. I spy with my little eye.
Yeah.
Something beginning with W. Can be interpreted in many different ways at CLL. What was the scariest bit? Oil tankers or sharks?
Oil tankers. We needed some tinny sharks.
We saw whales, but they weren't scary. They were more sort of curious. They were huge. I mean, they were twice, maybe 3 times the size of a boat, some of them, and they were literally swimming under us, round us, and if they wanted to, they could have just flipped us.
You start craving to see wildlife actually, because it becomes an interesting thing to see.
Yeah.
We had a fish. What did you name that fish?
We had Terry the tuna,
which wasn't a tuna.
Yeah.
We found out it was something.
He arrived on week 2 and left with us till a week before the end.
Yeah, Rich updated a blog and said, we've been followed by a tuna, and instantly we got about 10 replies going, tunas aren't found in that part of the Atlantic. So
which is rubbish.
Seriously, too many people know too much about tuna.
We had William Wilmer the whales,
yeah, they were
Terry the turtle, no, Terrence the turtle,
yeah,
and Nemo and Nemo.
As you can see, we didn't have much else to do, so we named well.
Yeah, so one of the rubbish, all fish from there called Dave. You remember that? So you're watching the fish. You've survived the oil tanker. Did any get very close?
We have to send up a flare for one of them during the early night.
Oh, that's a good idea. Here's a massive thing full of oil. Let's send up a flare. Seriously, you should be in the Gulf of Mexico. Sorry, that is.
We had one that got so close we could smell the fumes.
Yeah.
But they're very strange. I mean, they're 300 metres long, and you can't hear them. Even when they're 500-600 yards away, you still can't really hear them, and they just suddenly appear on the horizon.
Yeah. The problem with a lot of these tankers at mid-ocean is they're on autopilot. There's no captain on the deck. They're just, on a heading and they're off.
Yeah.
And if they had run over us, they wouldn't have even known we're there. So there's times when we're trying to radio them, but we had problems with our radio, and we'd get no response. But then there was that American captain, do you remember him?
Yeah,
who,
the Dakar.
Yeah, this big ship passed us, and we tried to get in contact with him, but he didn't radio us back, and we thought nothing of it. Next thing a minute, I was rowing for about 5-10 minutes, I looked to my right, and this huge vessel's done a U-turn, and he's coming straight for us. So I'm like, Rich, get out here! He jumps out the cabin, so we eventually get this guy on the radio, and we're like, you're bearing down on us, do you see us? And he's like, yeah, I see you, we've come to rescue you. And we're like, what do you mean rescue us? He goes, you're in your lifeboat. And we're like, no, this is that boat. He's an American guy, and he was like, you Brits are crazy.
I hope he gave you a bit for charity as a result of that.
We just should have given him the website.
Yeah.
He offered us loads of booze and food and all sorts, which was really nice of him, but we didn't accept it because we were in a race. We couldn't.
That sounds fair enough.
The official line.
I won't ask whether you'd do it again, but I will ask how inspiring it kind of was after a while for you.
It's kind of strange. I mean, when you work so hard for something and then you go out and do it, it doesn't seem like such a big deal.
Right.
I had one situation about 2 weeks ago when I was in a cafe, and I know the person who was serving me, and she said, have you done any more Ironmans or marathons or whatever? And I said, no, I've just raced the Atlantic, and the whole cafe just stopped. And you suddenly think, oh, actually, crikey, this is quite special. But it's just one of those things. It's nice to be the person who's done it rather than always talking to somebody else who's done these things. And that's the nicest thing about it for me. But I still look at maps and go, I'm going to row that one day. I mean, it was 15 years of planning really for me. And I have to pinch myself and actually say, no, I've already done it.
Do you think you'll get seasick next time?
Oh, I was awful for the first 4 days.
It was a complete whiz, wasn't it?
We're doing a sailing thing in August or September, for charity, and my biggest concern is how far we're going to go out to sea because I'm going to be sick all day. I got sick on a ferry from Tenerife to La Gomera.
The island, this La Gomera is about, what is it, 5 miles off Tenerife? Nothing. And he was seasick going across, and Rich had a team jumper on, and he was just about to be sick into this bag, and he was so embarrassed that he said rowing the Atlantic on his back, he had to take his top off before he could be sick.
The charity once again, and how people can give, guys, because that's what it was all
The
for.
charity is Ataxia UK. It's a neurological disease.
This is a very good friend of mine, James Downey, who I grew up with in Woking, who unfortunately suffers from ataxia. And over the years I've done quite a bit of fundraising for him. He's been really inspiring in the whole project. He's designed our website. He's a top guy, and if anyone does have any spare money, then it'll be greatly received by the charity. You can find the web link to the Just Giving site on our website, roundtheatlantic.com.
Gents, thank you so much for coming in tonight. It's such a great tale. And next time you go into a cafe, make sure I'm there, because I want to hear even more about it.
It really was amazing talking to you guys, you see. It was so nice for our friends and family to hear our voices when we were all over the place.
One thing Rich and I made sure that every interview we did at sea, we made sure we both spoke, because I said to Rich that we both need to say something very quickly, because then otherwise someone else might think we've killed each other or something. They need to hear both our voices.
It's not a hostage situation. You're both willing in the boat. Guys, we've loved having you on all the shows and this evening as well. Fantastic.
Thanks.
Take care. Tom Barnes and Richard Hume there, and do give to the charity there, because they're not rowing the Atlantic Ocean for nothing.